Good evening and welcome to the May 23rd, 2022, 5 p.m. closed session meeting of the Bell Garden Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order at 5:12 p.m. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 361, please be advised that members of the Bell Garden City Council may participate in today's meeting telephonically. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. Agency Secretary, will you please call the roll of the Successor Agency?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem. Agency members Barcena,
Present.
Cortez,
Present.
Flores is absent. Vice Chair Chavez
Present.
and Chair Polito is absent.
Okay, we will now move on to the first item on the agenda. Public participation is now open. Agency Secretary, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers for this item. We'll go ahead and read the instructions in case somebody wants to jump on and raise their hand. We have 0 written comments. We will now open the line to see if there was anyone wishing to speak. The members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on the items listed on the closed session meeting agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the mayor, to the members of the Successor Agency. Each speaker and email reading is limited to 3 minutes. Email comments will be read out loud after all speakers have been heard. Anyone wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by pressing *9. When instructed, press *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom. And nobody has raised their hands, so that concludes public comments.
Thank you so much. If there's no objection by the Successor Agency, I will close public participation. We will now move on to the items listed on the agenda. Will legal counsel please announce our closed session item for the Successor Agency?
Thank you, Vice Chair. At this time, the Successor Agency will recess into closed session to discuss the item appearing on tonight's closed session agenda. Closed session for this item is authorized pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. The time is 5:15. Thank you.
Convene at 6:10 p.m. Legal counsel, would you provide the closed session report to the Successor Agency?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I just wanted to first let the record reflect that Agency Polito did join during closed session at 5:15. And with respect to the record should reflect that the Successor Agency is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the item appearing on tonight's agenda. With respect to the single item appearing on tonight's Successor Agency closed session agenda, the Successor Agency received an update from the agency's negotiators. Direction was given, but no final action was taken. This concludes my report from closed session. Thank you.
Thank you for that. There's no objection by the Successor Agency. I will now adjourn the closed session meeting at the Bell Garden Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission at 6:11 p.m. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, May 23rd, 2022, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Garden Successor Agency to Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order at 6:11 p.m. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 361, please be advised that members of the Bell Garden Successor Agency may participate in today's meeting telephonically. Members of the public may view and listen to the meetings live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. Conflict of interest. If any agency member should have a conflict of interest virtually, please leave the room by turning off video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Leal, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by City Manager Mike O'Kelly.
Good evening.
Oh.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, councilmen and councilwomen, and all the staff. It is great to be back. I was out in Guatemala in a missionary trip for a couple of weeks. As we leave the United States and we go to other countries, especially Latin American countries, we realize how blessed we are. The first visit was to a church that's mostly children. We took them toys and other stuff, and we purchased pizza for them. It was just so wonderful to see those children bring happiness to them. And we're happy to be back And I have a verse I'd like to read, and it's 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 57. And it says that thanks should be given to God who gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Let us pray. Father, we just want to thank you this night, this evening, for our leaders, for our mayor, our councilmen and women, and all the staff of the city that make the city great. Father, I ask that you guide them. May your spirit be upon them in a very special way. May everything that is done tonight and is speaking tonight be for your glory and for the good of our citizens. Father, we ask this in the name of Jesus, and we can say amen.
At this time, if everybody can stand, face the flag, place your right hand over your heart and say the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Seeing as Agency Secretary, would please call the roll of the successor agency?
Yes, Vice Chair. Agency members Barcena,
Present.
Cortez,
Present.
Flores,
Present.
Vice Chair Chavez,
Present.
and Chair Polito.
Present. We will now move to the presentation. City Manager, will you please introduce today's presentation?
Thank you, Mayor Polito. Today's presentation is to recognize the month of June as LGBTQ plus month. Also just make a reminder to the council and to any of the stakeholders that are watching this meeting. Last year at this time, the city's flag policy was updated to include that the LGBTQ plus flag would be flown at City Hall and city facilities from June 1st through June 30th. And so with that, I will turn it over to the mayor. Mayor Polito, at this time, I think I've allowed us to get out of order here with the presentation. So why don't we hold off on the presentation and let's go back to the successor agency section. I apologize for that. To public participation, that's page 3. I apologize, and then we'll get back to the presentation once we go into the city council agenda. We're still on the successor agency.
Thank you. We will now move to the first item on the agenda. Public participation is now open. Agency Secretary, are there any speakers?
We have no written comments that were submitted, and no speakers as of yet have signed up, but we'll give them the opportunity if they want to raise their hand through the Zoom app. The members of the public now have the opportunity to speak on items on the agenda, on the successor agency agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the chair and agency members. Each speaker and written comment is limited to 3 minutes. Written comments will be read out loud after all speakers have been heard. Anyone wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by pressing *9. When instructed, press *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom. I'll begin with the first speaker. It doesn't look like anybody has raised their hands. Therefore, public comment is closed.
If there's no objection by the successor agency, I will close public participation. We will now move to items listed on the agenda. My apologies. If there's no objection by the agency members, I will close public participation. We will now move to consent calendar. Does any member,
Excuse
I'm
me,
gonna came
Mayor.
on now.
There's one person that has raised their hand. Estela Mata. Will you let her
Jane, can
in?
we confirm that that's for
Yes.
successor agency?
Yes. Is this Estela Mata on the line? Hello, Miss Mata? Did you let her on the line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, did you want to talk on the
Hello?
agenda for the, hello, are you there?
Ajá, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Did you want to
Buenas
talk?
tardes, mi nombre es Estela Mata y yo nomás quería decirles a los concejales que estamos pidiendo el control de rentas
Okay.
porque,
Señora,
estamos viviendo.
señora, ahorita no puedes
Sí.
hablar con la renta. Más
Es-
tarde
¿Estoy en el
la
momento
agenda.
indicado ahorita o todavía no?
Todavía no. Bueno,
Señora Mata, aún
¿Aló?
no es tiempo para ese comentario público. Nosotros le dejamos saber, va a ser en la siguiente porción. Esto ahorita solamente es para la agencia
Disculpe.
sucesora.
Gracias.
City clerk, or successor clerk, just to confirm there, other than the hand that was raised, that's not for a successor agency item. To confirm that there are no speakers or written comments for the successor agency. And the mayor, or the chair can move forward with, being that there's no objection by agency members to close public participation, correct?
that is correct.
we will now move to the consent calendar. Does any member of the agency wish to an item for separate discussion? I will now call for a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar.
I'll move to approve. Second, Cortez.
We have a motion and a second. Agency Secretary, can you please call the roll call vote?
Yes, Chair. Agency members Barsana,
Yes.
Cortez,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chavez,
Yes.
and Chair Polito.
Yes. We will now move to public participation on non-agenda items. Public participation is now open. Agency Secretary, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers that have signed up, but members of the public will now have the opportunity to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the chair and agency members. Each speaker and written comment is limited to 3 minutes. Written comments will be read out loud after all speakers have been heard. Anyone wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by pressing *9. When instructed, press *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom. I'll begin with the first speaker. If there's anybody out there that wants to speak, please raise your hand. Nobody is raising their hands, and also we did not receive any public written comments, so public participation is concluded.
If there's no objection by the city council, I will close public participation. Does any agency member wish to make a comment? If there's no objection by the successor agency, I will adjourn the successor agency meeting at 6:23 and call to order the city council meeting. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, May 23rd, 2022, 6 p.m. regular meeting to the Bell Garden City Council. The meeting will now come to order at 6:24. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 361, please be advised that the members of the Bell Garden City Council may participate in today's meeting telephonically. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any city council member should have a conflict of interest virtually, please leave the room by turning off video and muting yourself. You may still continue listening to the meeting. City Clerk, will you please call the roll of the City Council?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Sparcena,
Present.
Cortez,
Present.
Flores,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez, and Mayor Polito.
Present. We will now move to the presentation. City Manager, will you please reintroduce the presentation?
Thank you, Mayor Polito. We have a proclamation that recognizes June as LGBTQ plus month. And I just want to restate again, last year, the city council adopted a flag policy that allows for and requires the LGBTQ plus flag to be flown at city offices from June 1st to June 30. So staff will ensure that that happens on the 1st, which is next Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe. We'll turn it over for the proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now read a proclamation from the City of Bell Gardens, a proclamation in honor of LGBTQAI+ community. Whereas as we celebrate June as Pride Month in Bell Gardens, California, we are reminded of what makes California great. Our remarkable capacity to advance together across every conceivable difference, no matter the physical distance between us. From our separate homes, we stand together with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, and more LGBTQIA+ community of Bell Gardens as they declare their pride in who they are and whom they love. And the LGBTQIA+ community has worked tirelessly for respect, equality, and their very right to exist. Their battles have been fought in the courts from marriage equality to demanding equal protection under the law. And while there has been remarkable progress towards acceptance and equality in recent years, members of the LGBTQIA+ community in the United States and around the world still face an unacceptable level of discrimination and violence. This includes LGBTQIA+ people who aren't safe at home and those who do not have a home in which to stay. And we must push back against those who threaten the safety of the community, Bell Gardens residents, and challenge our progress. And we must continue to make the case that all humans beings share something fundamental in common. All of us want to love, and all of us want to be loved. Whereas Pride celebrations are a prominent feature of Pride Month, and in the City of Bell Gardens, we are proud to support the LGBTQIA+ community right to live their lives out loud. As we celebrate Pride in Bell Gardens and across the state, we must continue to demand equal rights for all to create. We should continue to demand equal rights for all to create a California for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Maria Polito, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of June as 2022 LGBTQIA Pride Month in Bell Gardens and encourage all residents to eliminate prejudice wherever it exists and celebrate our community. Proclaim this 23rd day of May 2022. Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So the City of Bell Gardens is home to the only LGBTQ youth resource center in all of Southeast Los Angeles. We service all of Stella, which means Southgate, Bell Gardens, Vernon, Maywood, Commerce, Bell, and any surrounding communities that would like to join. It is open from ages 14 to 24. Everybody is separated into their own categorized age group that's appropriate for whatever it is that they're facing or going through. And it is a support group that's available for free in Bell Gardens. It's here twice a month, and it is rarely used. And when it is, it's for really good services. There have been some instances where someone has hacked the Zoom link and they spread their hate into all that group Zoom call. It was really embarrassing, and it was really unfortunate that we still have a lot of violence and discrimination against our LGBTQ community. So I encourage anyone who is a part of the community, regardless of where you live, to please join and be a part of it. It's hosted by LEA, which is the Latino Equality Alliance, and it's here at Veterans Park. So if you know anybody, I encourage you to just share the flyer. I think that we all have a responsibility to be welcoming to our neighbors and live a life free of judgment. And one of the ways is to just share the information. That's a simple way to become an ally to the community. And on June 3rd, we will have a pride cleanup hosted by Latino Equality Alliance here in the city. Mayor Pulido joined us last year. It was really nice, and I'd love to see if everybody that's here today can be present to support the community, because we met with some turbulence last year, and it was really unfortunate. But I feel that there's more love here in the community than there is hate, and it's time that we show it. So if you know anybody who's a part of the community, or you would like to become an ally, I invite you to please join us on June 3rd. There's more information coming on the City of Bell Gardens Parks and Recreation page, and we will see you then. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We will now move to the next item on the agenda. Public participation is now open for items listed on the agenda. City Clerk, please announce the instructions for public participation.
Thank you, Mayor. There were no written comments submitted on items on the agenda. The members of the public will now have the opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the City Council. Each speaker and written comment is limited to 3 minutes. Written comments will be read out loud after all speakers have been heard. Anyone wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by pressing *9. When instructed, press *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom. I'll begin with the first speaker. It doesn't look like anybody has raised their hands, so public participation is closed for agenda items only.
If there's no objection by the City Council, I will close public participation. We will move to the City Manager report once he comes back. And he's now back. We will now move. City Manager, can you please provide your report?
Mayor Polito, our IT staff is reporting that there may be an English audio problem on our transmission of this meeting. So I request if we can take a 10-minute recess to allow that audio to be repaired, if possible, before we can continue on with the meeting.
Yes, let's recess and reconvene at 6:45.
Back to the city manager's report. Thank you, Mayor Polito. And thank you, council, for the recess there to get our English transmission in order. So I'll be brief on the city manager's report. Just a reminder, City Hall is closed this coming Monday. It's Memorial Day. There will be a Memorial Day ceremony at Veterans Park at the Memorial Monument at 10 a.m. on Monday. Just looking ahead a little further, there's a pet vaccine clinic at Veterans Park on Saturday, June 4th also, so about a week and a half from now. The last item I would just like to mention is we continue to monitor the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, their opening or partial opening of their Board of Supervisors meetings, as the council passed a policy that would line up the city's opening of council meetings to line up with the Board of Supervisors meetings, and they're currently still closed to the public. There is a somewhat related, just making note that there is an uptick in COVID cases in LA County over the last week or so. So we're monitoring that closely for any changes that may come regarding activities that the city offers. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council.
We will now move to the consent calendar.
Mayor Polito, staff is requesting that consent item number 3, approval of minutes of the April 11th City Council meeting, be tabled until the next meeting. There's a question on the specificity of the minutes regarding the rent control item that staff would like to go back through and review video and make any adjustments that may be necessary.
Does any member of the city council wish to pull a separate item for discussion?
I'd actually like to go ahead and make a motion to approve all of the items on the consent calendar. I believe that there's been no issues on it.
Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second that motion, Cortez.
City clerk, can you please conduct roll call vote?
May I make a motion as well?
You may after roll call.
Actually, may I make it, I need to have a comment before we vote. Is that okay, Madam Mayor?
Sure.
I just want to point out that I did notice something on the minutes that is not accurate. So I would just caution the council on their voting on that particular item. That's my comment.
Thank you. City
Yeah,
clerk, can you please
Mayor
move?
Polito, if I may.
Sure.
City manager, can you elaborate a little bit more as to why city staff wants to pull item number 3?
So Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, so there was a question raised by Mayor Pro Tem Chavez regarding the motion that was made regarding rent control. Specifically, the motion that was made, it states in the minutes, they made a motion for a rent control ordinance. It doesn't make mention of some of the specifics of an ordinance, which also included the request for an ordinance to include a rent freeze, as I believe is an urgency item. That's my recollection, and I think is just a quick review seems that's the case. So staff would like to again just request the opportunity to have this item tabled until the next meeting, just so that we can make sure that they're as exact as possible.
Thank you.
City manager, if need be, can we go ahead and amend minutes as opposed to pulling the item?
So I just checked with our city attorney. So if this item was approved and then upon review by staff in the city clerk's office, I presume we could bring this item back again for revision if necessary.
That is correct.
Thank you.
City clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. City Council members Barcena,
Just to clarify, this is the motion by Councilmember Flores on approving the minutes as they are?
Correct.
Okay, that would be a no for me.
Cortez,
Yes, and rather the motion is to approve all consent calendar items, not just the minutes.
Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez,
Yes, approving all items on consent calendar with the exception of item number 3.
and Mayor Polito.
Yes. City manager, will you please announce discussion item number 10?
Thanks again, Mayor Polito. This next item is I think a positive item that staff has been looking forward to for generally the entire time that I've been here, so the last 2 or 3 years. It's regarding a citywide banner program. So as the council probably knows, we've got banners, about 51 banners out there throughout the city that we place season's greetings, holiday banners during the holiday time. So starting in November and keeping them up and through January. There's been discussion on a number of occasions regarding implementing a banner program that would recognize active duty armed forces, veterans, students that are either graduating high school or moving on to college or to trade schools. And also, we just recognized LGBTQIA+. There's been requests as well, informal, formal, for banners, also recognizing LGBTQIA+ month. And so in talking with the Recreation Community Services Director, Liz Nava, asked her to put together an item for the council so that we can have discussion and then seek direction. We have some recommendations in here and a presentation for what we think we can do for an expanded banner program that I think would be appreciated by all the residents and the stakeholders in the city. So with that, I'll turn it over to Liz Nava for a PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. I am going to share my screen. Okay. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening, Mayor Polito and members of the City Council. As the city manager stated, this item before you tonight is to discuss expanding the city's current banner program that exists. And as he's mentioned before, we do have 51 poles in the city in which we're able to hang 2 banners on each pole. So we have 102 banners. They are holiday banners, and you can see an image there on the screen. The poles that we currently use are in the center of the medians, and they're along Eastern Avenue, Florence Avenue, Garfield. And they're about 2 feet by 5 feet long, just so you kind of get an idea of the size. There are local cities who have various banner programs. Downey has one where they do seasonal banners as well as active military and high school students. La Mirada also does a high school banner program. And in their process, they work with the school districts to select the students through an application process. Linwood has a small banner program. They do city promotions, and select third parties will be allowed at the council's discretion to hang banners as well. Norwalk hangs military banners, veterans banners, high school banners, and select programs and organizations that the council determines. Santa Fe Springs has what they call the Blue Star Banner Program, and that's to recognize those individuals who are currently serving in active armed services. They have an application process that goes through their city hall and city managers department. Just to give you an idea of what some of those banners look like along the streets of local cities, that's in Norwalk, the La Mirada High School and the City of La Mirada banners, and in Downey as well. As the city manager stated, we did have multiple requests to expand the banner program to include veterans and patriotic or military banners, high school seniors, and I apologize for the error in the acronym, but the LGBTQIA+ community. In order to expand our banner program, I believe that an application process would need to be developed and implemented to keep things organized and fair. And just as a point of information, we do have the ability to hang additional banners on the light poles that are owned by Edison, but we have to follow their rules with regards to which type of hardware we use to hang the banners. And we would be responsible for paying for all of those items ourselves. So with that, staff is recommending that council provides direction to staff on expanding the city's banner program by permitting staff to develop an application process and move forward with the program with the following format. I recommend that we use the 51 poles to hang 102 banners and rotate the banners that will be hung throughout the year so that the groups who are being requested could be recognized. I also recommend that for the high school senior banners that we would work with the Education Commission to review the application and select high school seniors. The veterans banners can be reviewed by the Senior Commission and selected, and then the active duty banners by the RCY Commission. And this is just to get them involved with the city and give them a purpose. They have a lot of buy-in and are very committed. And actually one of the commissions was the Education Commission actually recommended the high school senior banner program. And in addition to that, the LGBTQIA+ banners, instead of maybe recognizing individuals, we could just do a generic banner that shows support of the community to hang during Pride Month. To give you an idea of cost, for our current program, the kits that we have to use, and we have to replace these kits every year. As you could imagine, driving down the freeway causes vibrations, and then the hardware wears and falls off. And so we would have to replace them annually. They're about $60 a kit. To print the banners with the company that we utilize is about $75 per banner. So if we were to print one-time banners at $76.50 and then 3 programs per year times 102 banners would be about $23,000. So for the first year, it would be about a $34,000 cost, but then the annual cost after that would be about $26,500. And that is the end of my show. I will stop sharing my screen. And I am available for any questions that council may have.
Mayor, may I? Yes. Director Nava, somebody needs to mute. The district had thoughts of contributing to the city's expenditures when it comes to doing high school banners. And I know you've recently come in contact with Dr. Garland, so I'm wondering if that's a conversation that maybe we need to visit. This conversation happened maybe last year. So it wasn't that long ago, but they did have thoughts of trying to work with the different cities within the school district boundaries to implement these banners. And maybe that could be a reduction in costs for us or a cost savings if we just work with them collaboratively. I know the district does contribute to other different programs in other cities while they don't contribute anything here in the city of Bell Gardens. So maybe this is something that they can help us offset. And then the second thing was, can we add a focus of like what schools these seniors are going to or what programs, whether it be technical careers or anything that they're doing post high school?
Yes, absolutely. And that would be the intention, to highlight a little bit about them and their future school or profession, whatever it is, if it's a technical school, a university, or a college.
Beautiful. And I would really love for the high school implements the top 10 students program. I would really love for them to make it onto the polls without application or without them necessarily applying. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We can definitely look into that.
I just have to make a comment on this. Thank you so much, Director Nava, for bringing this to the council. About 3 years ago, this was something that I did request alongside my colleagues. And because of COVID and other things that took, more importance over these banners, we weren't able to implement them. Just to see them now, it makes me very happy because year after year, there's complaints from residents like the city doesn't have any Christmas decorations or they don't feel like there's necessarily enough TLC coming from the city. But more importantly, I do believe that this is an investment in the pride of our community. Many times I go to different places and you hear about city managers, chiefs of police, different elected officials that started and began their career coming from Bell Gardens. And it's really important that we continue to instill that city pride and that city love. And how do we do that? I think a good place to start is parading the success of our community, whether it's military, whether it's in support of our LGBTQA+ community, or simply by supporting our top 10 students that often go unrecognized and want to leave the city as soon as possible because they feel like they're not appreciated in this community. So this makes me really happy, and I'm in full support of this. I do support seeking monetary offset costs from the district since they, like Councilmember Cortez mentioned, they are in support. They do give monetary contributions to their city with the exception of Bell Gardens. So I'd love to tap into that and see if they can help us offset the cost. But other than that, I'm full support of this, including its costs until, we can find other means to alleviate. But for now, implementing city pride is key.
Would we be able to implement this for June? I know that we're a week away, but to celebrate the LGBTQIA plus group.
We can develop a banner, create a banner and then send it to print. And if not by June 1st, if it gets approved, we can have it up in June for sure. We would have to add to the budget for this fiscal year to pay for that, but we could make it happen for June. Yes.
And Mayor, I think for Liz's benefit, let's just make sure, we won't ask for an additional appropriation now. I think just kind of based on the cost estimates, we can look around throughout all the departmental budgets to see if we have funding available to get it done this month. And if for some reason there's a necessity for a budget amendment, we can start moving now and then we can come back in at the first meeting in June if we need to.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Nava, for bringing this item. It's great to see that we're exploring banners throughout our city. I'm in full support of this idea, whether it's seasonal, whether it's for our top 10 students, the military, the Blue Star program, you name it. This is going to be really add a lot more color and taste per se to our city. And I definitely agree that if it's possible to expedite the process between now and the next month, we should absolutely look into doing it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you, Director, for having this great initiative here to have the banners added. I'm definitely on board with the top 10, considering that I used to be a top 10 student. So, top 7th to be exact. But in addition to that, I would love it if the council and staff can explore also celebrating our immigrants. I feel like maybe having some banners that sort of celebrate the diversity of the city of Bell Gardens and the fact that we have a large composition of immigrants. I will be really interested in incorporating that if possible. But I think we're on our way to making our city look more beautiful and showing more support, which is a big part of what we're all about. So thank you.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second, Flores.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, will you please conduct roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Barcena,
Yes.
Cortez,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez,
Yes.
and Mayor Polito.
Yes. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 12?
Thanks again, Mayor Polito. This next item is twofold. One, it is to pre-discuss prior to the budget the special events that the staff has recommended and plans to include in the budget for fiscal year 22-23. Special events, as you know, have been curtailed due to COVID really since 2019. We've kind of planned them, and then as COVID allows, we've been able to conduct some, and we've not been able to conduct certain others. So we're moving and budgeting and or recommending budget, assuming that we'll be able to conduct all of these events. So we want to show that to you in advance of the budget. That way, when we bring the budget to you, we've got this nailed down. Number two, we also, this will be the first Independence Day event that we'll be having since the COVID environment started, and also since there's a ban on fireworks in the city of Bell Gardens. And so second fold is we're recommending an amendment to create a multimedia show to execute a contract with an entity to allow us to create a multimedia show that will replace a fireworks show and provide the same level of excitement among the residents. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Nava again.
Thank you again, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening once again, Mayor. Okay, sorry about that. Am I good? Okay, I'm good now. Okay, thank you again, Mr. O'Kelly, and good evening again, Mayor Polito and members of the City Council. This item before you is to discuss, as the city manager said, our major citywide special events and also to get approval on agreement for a new multimedia show for Independence Day celebration. This year, the Recreation and Community Services Department will host an Independence Day celebration on Saturday, July 2nd. The event will offer the community games, activities, a mini farmers market, a concert with a Selena tribute band. Who doesn't love Selena? I know I do. And in lieu of fireworks, as Mr. O'Kelly said, we'll provide a multimedia show to end the night with. So the agreement for this multimedia show is $25,000, and it includes a lot of different aspects of multimedia. There'll be some special effects, laser lights shooting onto some fog machines and onto the trees at Veterans Park. There'll be lighting effects, and one of the things that's really cool is it's going to be a projected display. We get to create a story for Bell Gardens, and they're going to project the story onto the screen. And also, we'll take pictures throughout the event leading up to the multimedia show, and they'll take those pictures and then they'll display them as part of their show. So the residents can see themselves on the big screen from earlier in the day, which is a really cool addition. So I have a video to give you an idea of the types of things that we're going to see. Now, granted, this is a lot smaller of an event, but the gist is just so you can see what types of multimedia we're talking about. Okay, is it showing? Hold on, sorry, I have to, is it showing okay? Yeah, okay, okay, sorry, okay, here we go.
Anybody want to beatbox over this so we can have some music going on?
So Liz, I think the important thing that you said was on the scale. Obviously, this is a scale of, looks like a party of about 40 people or so. So if we're talking like 1,000 people, it's scaled up
The
to
bigger
that
show,
level.
yes.
Wow.
Hence, yeah, the $25,000.
And it'll be featuring the city manager dancing right under the lights, right?
For sure.
With
Spotlight
captain, with the
on
captain.
So that's just to give you an idea of what the show potentially would offer. So with that, staff is seeking council's direction also to approve the suggested list of events for the fiscal, and these are citywide major special events for fiscal year 23. So the dates that you'll find, so this is a calendar of suggested events and dates for this coming fiscal year. The dates with the asterisks is just a recommended date. Some are already set, but I'll go through the list briefly to share with you the ideas. And I also included a budget amount for your reference. So you can see what each of these events are going to cost. To start off with, the summer movie and summer concerts, I just want to make note that these happen in two summers. So it covers the current July and August summer months, but then also June 2023. As we stated, there is a an Independence Day celebration multimedia show on July 2nd, Fiestas Patrias on Thursday, September 15th. We're suggesting our 5K run has been pushed back because of COVID. And so we're suggesting to do our 5K run on Saturday, October 8th. And in order to maximize our resources and cut down on costs, we are suggesting a couple of programs to be combined this year. One of them is our Halloween and Dia de los Muertos event, where we'll take the Halloween event and we'll have a Dia de los Muertos component added into the event, a separate section, but we're doing it all on one day to maximize our resources. So we don't have to spend money on equipment twice, and we don't have to schedule staff on 2 separate days. Our family fishing derby in November, as well as a holiday movie night in the park. Our tree lighting ceremony, we're suggesting for Thursday, December 1st. We do increase the budget a little bit on this, but that's just to, so we can replenish some of the decorations for the tree. And then also combining our Winter Wonderland and our holiday food / toy distribution event. I think in order to maximize the amount of people who are participating, if we combine the two and we do a toy distribution as well as a food distribution, and then we provide them with this great big event, it would be successful on both ends. We have our Spring Festival suggested for Saturday, April 1st, and then Earth Day on Saturday, April 22nd. And I just wanted to note that we did have a couple commissioners request either a separate event or a portion of our event to include Indigenous people. And so one of my recommendations is that on Earth Day, we have a component of education and activities for Indigenous people to just incorporate that in to the event. And then additionally, those are our major citywide family events. We're asking for additional funding in the budget to cover the smaller events like our Memorial Day celebration, our Veterans Day celebration, the backpack giveaway that we do at the end of summer, teen events, senior events. And those events are specific to a certain group, but the major citywide events are all encompassing. Okay, so it is staff's recommendation that council approve the list of recommended citywide special events for the 22-23 fiscal year and approve an agreement with TLC Creative in the amount of $25,000 for the Independence Day Multimedia Show. So just to add a little note on the fiscal impact, we do currently have a budget earmarked to cover the Independence Day show and the multimedia show. And for next fiscal year, we are requesting approximately $275,000 in the budget to cover all the special events for the entire year. And that concludes my report. I am available for questions.
Director, for the September 15, is there any way that we could have that event instead on September 16? And then does this list, or do we also factor in, I know last year we began with the smaller activities or events at all of our different parks. Is that something that we can continue? Such as like Marlow Park, we had like some activities there. We had some water slides at one of our other parks. The community really seemed to like that we're broadening our scope and moving different activities or having activities all over the city. And I think that would be really nice for the summer, maybe including more of those like water slides.
Yes. Yes, I have had conversations with the team to include programming, especially during the summer at our smaller parks.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you, Liz, for this great list of events. Thank you, City Manager. I have a question. Well, before I ask, I want to commend you guys for doing these hybrid events, like for example, the Dia de los Muertos mixed with, I don't recall right now exactly which one, but you guys are kind of pairing them together, which I think is a great idea to save money, but also cover a wider range of events or themes. I didn't see any events there related to art, and I feel like that's been one of the things that we've been lacking a little bit, even though we did have a great event not too long ago, thanks to Councilmember Flores over at Marlow Park. Is there any way, and feel free to contribute with your opinion, city manager, will we be able to, I don't know, maybe do the 5K as a, maybe like an art run or something, like an art 5K, and just have like artist booths? Would that be something that we can maybe throw together without spending more money? Because I noticed that the 5K event didn't have a theme attached to it, and I just felt like maybe that's one way to, I don't know, maybe promote it to our local artists, get some people from the community to set up their booths and showcase their art, even if they're not necessarily like professional artists. Maybe we can set something up for them to come and showcase their art, right? And just an idea there. I want to see what my colleagues think about it, and hopefully we can squeeze it in there without spending too much money.
Councilor Barcena, what if we incorporate like an art contest for people to submit pieces for the shirt design? I know last year we had like a graphic design for the zombie run,
I
or
love
when we
that.
did it.
Love that.
Any ideas I feel like are welcome and great.
I
So,
think
yeah.
both would be good, right? Like we can do the competition, like for the zombie, and then also like all the artists or street artists that come, they're part of the Sela group. Because we have the Sela Arts Cultural Center coming in Southgate, and they don't have a home yet. So they can start showcasing in Bell Gardens, because I feel that with the Sela Arts Cultural Center coming, Bell Gardens has been completely left out of the conversation, because as a city, we're not really kind of like inviting them, so they say. So I think that would be like definitely a great opportunity for us to be included in the Sela Arts Center, and then have the competition and bring artists, and then have the Sela Cultural Arts Center be invited to Bell Garden, so that, we have a space in Southgate and in Bell when those centers open up. So that's a great idea. I'm all for it.
Yeah, Huntington Park just had like an art walk on Pacific Boulevard. So maybe either at the beginning or at the end, we can incorporate. Last year, or the time that we had a 5K, we incorporated a health fair. Maybe we can incorporate like a mini art walk at the end if we do invite these artists.
So if I may make a motion maybe to approve this, and just have staff work with the council, and maybe just bring it up again, just to kind of review what kind of ideas we collected, and have another vote just for that particular 5K maybe. So that'll be my motion there.
I just had a question. So we're voting to allocate 25,000 for the digital show, but then for next year, we're allocating 40,000 for the whole event. So this year it will cost 65,000, and next year is 40,000?
No, I'm sorry about that confusion. So the total cost is approximately $40,000, which we have in our budget currently. 25,000 of that goes just to the multimedia show, and the remainder will be for the band, the equipment, the activities, and the games that we'll be doing. So next fiscal year, we'll be asking for $40,000 again for the 4th of July show.
And Mayor Polito, to be specific, the city manager's contract authority is only $10,000. So to execute the agreement with the multimedia company, we've already got the budget for it. We're just asking for approval from the council to execute that agreement.
Okay, thank you.
I have one comment. I
Yes.
love the idea of the 4th of July. I just wasn't very impressed with the footage. It's kind of seemed that, did they not submit a better footage because they haven't done that type of event, or is it because that's all that was available? Because
No.
that is a little frightening.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. No, they actually are very highly recommended, and they actually do major shows for professional sporting events and galas and different types of things. But when I requested a video from them, I wanted them to give me specifically things that we will see in Bell Gardens at our event. And so unfortunately, it is a poor video because it's of a party, essentially. It's not a big event like they normally host. And so it's just to give you an idea of just the types of things that we're going to see, but it'll be on a much larger scale and incorporate Bell Gardens specific things that we'll highlight throughout the media show. And it'll be about a 10 to 15-minute show. So it'll be a hefty show. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, the video didn't portray that very well.
And I think, Liz, we can share also with the council some additional still photos and video that we have of a scale that's larger than that. But I think, as Liz is saying, we wanted to show you some of the specifics, even though it's on a smaller scale, of what they're doing. Some of the examples that I see out there have most of the components, but not all on a larger scale, though, that this company does.
Yes.
Thank you so much for bringing this forward, Director Nava. I had a quick question in regards to the list of events, and per se, they might not be citywide special events, but I know that they're reoccurring every month. Are we still going to continually have the food distributions every third Saturday? Has that been accounted for next year, as well as the food program throughout the week?
Yes, we are planning to continue the food distribution every month. And also we are looking to continue the food distribution, and the supper program is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Is the supper program? Yes. So in addition to the supper program, we're looking to, we submitted a grant to the county to add another food distribution type program that specifically will go for adults. So we can continue to feed our seniors, our individuals who are experiencing homelessness, because a separate program is specific to the youth, ages 0 through 17. So we have a grant application in with the county for expanding that program and offering a wider variety to the more general public for food.
Do we have an estimated date as to when we will hear back from the county?
Unfortunately, no. We have been trying to wait patiently so we don't irk them too much, but we just submitted the application last month, and unfortunately it's a highly competitive process, and so it just takes a little bit of time, but we'll continue to reach out and provide the council with updates as we hear information about the grant.
Sounds good. Final question, by any chance for this special program, it's just going to be for adults, do we by any chance know the location? Because I know we do distribute food at Veterans Park, Ford Park, I believe the Neighborhood Youth Center, but per se in the smaller parks, Hannon Park, Darwell Park, Marlow Park, any potential discussion about expanding that program to those parks?
Yeah, absolutely. We can include any site that the council would like us to include.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. That'd be the comments for me.
We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Barcena. Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
City Clerk, can you please conduct roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Barcena,
Yes.
Cortez,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez,
Yes.
and Mayor Polito.
Yes. Public participation is now open for items not listed on the agenda. City Clerk, please announce instructions for the public participation.
Thank you, Mayor. 14 written comments have been submitted. The members of the public will now have the opportunity to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the mayor and council members. Each speaker and written comment is limited to 3 minutes. Written comments will be read out loud after all speakers have been heard. Anyone wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by pressing *9. When instructed, press *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom. I'll begin with the first speaker. I've got one individual raising their hand, Veronica Cisneros.
Yes, good evening to all. Nice to meet you all. I've been a resident here, Bell Gardens, for 20+ years, and the homelessness is a major problem that we're having. It's gone worse. Even just the past few months, it's gone really bad. And I've lived on both sides of Bell Gardens. We're here closer to Downey than closer to Bell, and it's getting worse. Is there anything being done as far as that goes?
Does that conclude your comment?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Cassandra Veloz.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Comienza con tus...
Bueno, pues como he estado viendo aquí con ustedes que hay presupuesto, suficiente presupuesto para eventos y me da mucho gusto que como concejales tomen en cuenta a la comunidad y que también un poco de ese presupuesto sea destinado para ayudar un poquito más a la gente. Ya sea en cuestión de ayuda legal, por favor, para la gente que está batallando con sus problemas de la renta, con sus problemas de desalojo. Creo que así como podemos darle de felicidad a la gente con eventos propios, también que sea un poquito para aliviar esas angustias. Estamos en el mes de la salud mental y esto tenemos que tomarlo en cuenta. Que la gente también sufre de salud mental por la vivienda, por todo lo que estamos pasando, gente que está incómoda, gente que está sufriendo por un desalojo, gente que le están aumentando la renta y también de eso se sufre. Y si queremos disfrutar esos eventos comunitarios, de esas grandes expectativas que ustedes tienen con la comunidad, pues entonces vamos poniéndole un poquito más atención a esa gente que está batallando. No nomás es entregarles un poco de comida, es también entregarles un poco de salud mental y de estabilidad en cuestión de la vivienda. Gracias por estar haciendo todo esto. Se les agradece muchísimo, pero hay que poner atención en otras cosas que a veces tienen prioridad. Gracias.
Gracias, señora. Our next speaker is Estela Mata. Estela. Estela Mata. Señora. Can you tell, Alejandra, can you tell her to unmute herself?
Señora Mata, si quiere hablar, este es su momento para dar su comentario. Creo que su micrófono está abierto. Señora Estela. Señora.
Buenas tardes.
Sí, tiene 3 minutos.
Mi nombre es Estela Mata, es de la ciudad de por 23. Y yo les quiero pedir a los concejales que por nos con el control porque estamos sufriendo estrés, los aumentos de la renta están bien altos. Nuestros hijos también del básquetbol, pero todo eso pues sale caro y eso no nos alcanza tampoco. Darles una hamburguesa, que más antes sacábamos a comer, y ahora con el aumento de las utilidades también altas también. Las rentas están por 200, los dueños están subiendo 200. Por eso les pedimos, por favor, a los que lleven el control de rentas y
Disculpe, señora
porque-
Mata.
porque
Disculpe,
estamos en una
señora
vida
Mata.
triste. No vamos a nada. Nuestros hijos quieren venir a los deportes, a los parques.
Señora Mata, disculpe,
Decimos nosotros, bueno,
su señal no está.
pagamos la renta o los pagamos en el béisbol, los uniformes caros. Y yo digo, me gustaría un evento para donde los niños puedan jugar a gusto. Eso es todo. Nomás ciencia que la comunidad de Belgarden necesitamos. Los cines bien. Los baños tienen mojo. Yo estoy triste vivir.
Gracias, señora. Our next speaker is 2021. Steve. Go ahead and make your comment. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead and make your
¿Sí me-
comment. You have
sí me
3
escuchan?
minutes.
Sí, sí la escuchamos. Sí, sí, adelante.
¿Sí? ¿Se me escucha? Se oye muy cortado. ¿Sí? Ok. Mi nombre es Silvia Villeda. Vivo aquí en Belgarden desde hace 28 años. Y se me hace muy bien todo lo que quieren poner para los niños, ¿verdad? Y de lo de, a ver, eso me hace recordar cuando mis hijos estaban chicos que tenían todos de los eventos, exactamente. Tenían, pero no cobraban tanto como ahora. Lo que dice la señora es verdad, que para meterlos a un equipo de fútbol tiene que pagar uno mucho dinero, y ahorita con los aumentos de la renta, antes ayudaba a la ciudad demasiado. Porque mis niños, mis muchachos, bueno, ya son muchachos, estuvieron en clases de baile y tuvieron muchos para poder ir a... Pues quiero agradecer a los concejales por el apoyo que están dando para el control de la ruta. Para el control de las rentas quiero dar las gracias, pero también quiero que ojalá esto sea que de verdad nos apoyen para que la gente esté sufriendo demasiado con el aumento de la renta.
Gracias, señora. Our next speaker is Jessa McCormack.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having this meeting tonight. My name is Jessa McCormick, and I'm the Senior Manager for Housing at the Liberty Hill Foundation. I work closely with community organizations across the county fighting to prevent homelessness. I urge you to agendize and then pass permanent rent stabilization as soon as possible. Doing so will protect vulnerable tenants in your city from unnecessary eviction and displacement. So much of the discussion today focused on city pride and community events. Enacting rent stabilization policies will allow tenants to stay in Bell Gardens and contribute to the community you're already actively engaging. We've been in a housing crisis long before the pandemic, and LA County tenants are across the board some of the most rent burdened in the nation. Higher rent burden means families are that much closer to a missed rent payment, eviction, and potentially homelessness. The Board of Supervisors has already provided a guide in the comprehensive rent stabilization passed in 2019. You now have the chance to ease the economic pressure tenants face by stabilizing rents and thereby stabilizing your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mayra Rodriguez.
Buenas tardes a todos. Gracias por permitirme hablar, ¿verdad? Yo también vivo aquí en la ciudad de Bell Gardens. Tengo más de 25 años viviendo. Me gusta todo lo que están, todos los proyectos que tienen para la ciudad. Gracias, se lo agradezco porque piensan en la gente. Pero sí me gustaría que piensen un poco en el control de rentas, porque a veces que pues se vive nada más de cheque a cheque y a veces no tenemos ni para las medicinas, ni para pasear, ni para tener un convivio con nuestros hijos o en familia. A veces pues se ha perdido y las familias se han desunido también por eso, porque pues no hay dinero. Tenemos que pensar en el pago de la renta. Esto no es en contra de los que rentan, no es guerra con ellos. Sabemos que también les ha costado mucho trabajo tener sus casas, ¿verdad? Solamente estamos en contra de las personas que son injustas y que no se tocan el corazón, les roban el dinero a la gente, cobrándoles a cada rato renta, subiéndoselas y queriéndolos humillar y sacar de sus propias casas. Esto no es una guerra, esto es solamente pues que sean conscientes con la comunidad. Gracias por escucharme y felicidades. Gracias a todos. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Gracias. Our next speaker is Maria Martinez.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es María. ¿Sí me pueden escuchar?
Sí. Comience.
Hola, buenas noches. Soy María Martínez. Y estoy a favor del rentas. Tengo aquí muchos años viviendo en Bell Gardens y ahorita es muy frustrante todo esto que está pasando. Tantos aumentos de renta y pues yo vivo en un mobile home y pues nosotros, pues aquí yo tengo mi casa y todo, yo hago reparaciones y todo. Lo que se necesita es bajo mi costo. Y pues ya nos están aumentando la renta demasiado, 2 veces por año. Y pues yo soy madre soltera. Y sí, la verdad está algo muy, muy difícil estar pagando aumentos de renta cada 2 veces por año, 1 vez por año, tanto dinero. Es muy difícil y les pido por favor que nos ayuden y que nos apoyen. Pues a todos, ¿verdad? Que esto sea parejo, pero sí necesitamos, la verdad, porque no, mucha gente se está quedando ya sin hogares. y yo no quiero pasar por lo mismo. Les agradezco su comprensión y pues gracias por su tiempo.
Gracias, señora. That concludes public comments. There's nobody else with their hand up. I'll turn it over to city manager.
Thank you, Jane. Mayor and council, as we've done in the past couple meetings, we have 14 email comments that are specifically regarding rent control. What we've done for those comments is to read the name of the sender, to provide the emails to the council, the complete emails to the council, and then also note whether or not the item was a supporting of rent control or if it happened to be against rent control. And so in accordance with the policy for non-agenda items and to maintain consistency through this process, we've taken the call-in comments, and I will now read the written email comments, name, and whether they all happen to be in support of rent control.
City manager, I'd like to make a motion to read the full comments. I think it's important that we pay attention to these written comments that are coming directly from our community. I feel it's a cry for help. So I'd like to make a motion that we read these 14 comments, or at least read the unique comment, because I believe some of these comments are copies of each other. Maybe just read that one and the one in Spanish. I'd like to make that motion, please.
I'd like to make a comment. I don't feel that there's a need to read every single email just because they are copies of each other. I only see, they all look exactly the same to me, I think with the exception of one. So if we really want to read all of them, I think maybe we should read one to represent all of them. But I do feel that that will open the door to maybe somebody calling us unjust because we haven't read the prior emails. So I think that if however we decide to move forward, we have to take into consideration the fact that we've already done something and set the precedent of moving forward in one particular manner, and to just change it seems, or it could be interpreted as we're being unfair to particular parties. So
I'd second that motion.
And to clarify, that's Marco's, Councilmember Barcenas' motion to read all the comments individually.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, my motion is open to reading unique comments only. So as Councilmember Flores stated, if the comment is exactly the same, I would say it's fine to read it once.
I don't think there's any individualized comments. They're all the same, with the exception that some add or remove bullet points from the same list of bullet points, but they all start the same. So I'd like to, Councilwoman Flores, was that a motion?
yes, that would be a motion to just read one of them because they're all the same.
If I may interject, just to look to our city attorney, just regarding, I guess, the process and then also the selection of a comment that we deem to be indicative of all of them, because I think there's enough difference there that to pick one out of the
I think
group
in an
there is
abundance of
difficult.
caution, since we've previously not read the comments, that we should continue as is with reading the names in support or against. Because as Councilmember Flores mentioned, there is a concern that the prior comments were not previously read. So now changing it would seem, unfair to the prior members that did submit comments previously.
So
If I may.
the legal advice would be to just stay as the status quo unless otherwise we as a body choose to go in a separate direction.
The motion would be
forward.
correct. The motion, if there's a motion, the recommendation would be to remain as is. And if there is a motion, then because they're not all exactly the same, it would be to read them all or continue as is.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to continue as we have. under the advice of our legal counsel, that we should be cautious and treat all of the callers and the people that are writing their comment just and evenly, and reading every single one, although they're basically exactly the same, would be unfair to all of the other prior emails who have submitted comment and who we did not read.
I'll second that motion.
If I may, and I have a question for legal in regards to the comments or public comment section, because we did have public comment section. People called in and made a public comment. Somebody else not reading these public comments, are we in a way stating that those public comments have more value per se because they called in as to people that had resubmitted them or that had submitted them as earlier?
No, we're allowing priority to the comments that are called in. And then because we have a 30-minute window, that's why we're allowing those to come in. However, because we had so many written comments in the past, and just for the record, these comments are on the record. So as the council all receives a copy of these comments, so these comments are received by all the council members and are reviewed by everyone. So they all hold the same weight because they all are reviewed by the council, and they are also a part of the public record.
I just want to make a comment real quick. I don't like that there's some type of conversation that's kind of being had amongst some people that makes it feel like we don't want to read your comments because we feel that you're less than. That's not the sentiment at all. In fact, we know that they're all the same because we all have a hard copy in front of us, and we also have the digital copies in our emails. And I want you all to know that everybody counts, and we are still deciding on whether we're going to have, what kind of record we're going to have. And I don't want there to be any sort of conversations in which any of us are alluding to the fact that your written comments are not important, when in fact that is not true. We are just being careful because we didn't read people's comments that came in when they were against rent control. So we start reading the ones that are for now. We can be, we're crossing a fine line of who we're being fair to. So that's why I believe that we should all kind of have a precedent ground where we say everybody counts. It's just we have to continue the way that we've been going. If we switch it up now, we are facing the possibility of being pointed or accused of being unjust. So let's all kind of be okay with that and not continue the conversation that we are not, because that's not okay and it's not true either.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. So per se, I mean, I know that the reason I asked for the comments to be read is because the Unión de Vecinas has reached out multiple times in regards to making sure that their comments be read in public comment. And they've done their due diligence and their part in terms of submitting their comments back-to-back meetings, right? And therefore, I mean, that's why I feel like it's my responsibility being up here to sort of advocate on behalf of what my constituents are telling me to do, right? And that's why I keep on being persistent about reading the comments. That's my comment. Thank you.
And council members Travis, while I understand your sentiment of wanting to read all these comments, remember that public comment is also meant to persuade us as a council. So we are reading these comments. I think we're creating this false narrative that council isn't paying attention or that council isn't reading these. And just even by glancing at these for a couple minutes, I realized that they're all the same. They all have the same bullet points, some of them left, some out, but it's not very hard to read the comments. And I think we've all done our due diligence. So as Councilwoman Flores mentioned, let's stop creating this false narrative that we're not paying attention. These comments are meant for us. They're not meant to convince the rest of Bell Gardens that there needs to be rent control. It's different residents telling us that they want or support rent control. So I think it suffices that we continue with the precedent of just reading them ourselves because we're all very capable and we can all spend a couple minutes reading them, as opposed to continuing this conversation every single council meeting and wasting precious time having this conversation over and over again. I met with the group as well, and that wasn't one of their concerns. It wasn't something that they requested. Not only that, but they affirmed me that these comments would be individualized, and they're not individualized. So I'll follow up with them as well because I let them know and I express, when I read these comments, I really want to know about the person writing them. I don't just want a uniform form where they're sending me the same things. I know what they're vouching for, but I want to hear more about their personal story so that I can better guide my decisions. So while I understand you, I think we just continue to have this conversation to paint this false narrative and we continue to waste time. By now, we would have already read all 14 comments. But we are also trying to give fairness and equity to those that emailed in against rent control, and we didn't read those.
I think,
Mayor, can we please, point of order, can we please carry on with the vote?
can I make one final comment?
We have 2 motions and 2 seconds, so we'll move forward with voting for Councilmember Barcena's motion first. And if that does not get approved, then we'll move towards Councilmember Flores' motion. Is that okay?
And just to clarify, Mayor, my motion was to read the comments, and the motion by Councilmember Flores was to not read the comments. Thank
My
you.
motion was to continue how we have done in the past, I don't know, months. How many months, Mayor, do you know how many times we've done this?
It's
been quite a time. So my motion is not to read them. My motion is to continue as we have heard the advice of our legal counsel. So clarification.
City Clerk, can you please conduct roll call vote?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Barcena?
Is this for my motion to read the
Yes,
comments?
it's
That
for
will
your
be a
motion.
yes. Yes.
Cortez?
No.
Flores?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez?
Yes.
And Mayor Polito?
No.
And the next one is for Councilmember Flores's motion. Council members Barcena?
I will abstain.
Cortez?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez?
I'll abstain as well.
And Mayor Polito?
Yes.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Actually, you know what? Go ahead. I'll save it for my council comment.
Based on that vote, Mayor Polito, are you okay with me proceeding with the reading of the names and whether it's a support or not support
That's
for rent
right.
control?
Of course.
Thank you, Mayor Polito. We'll start with the name. These are all, there are 14 written comments. They are all in support of rent control. Grisela Reyes, Carla Quiroz, Delenia Alonso, Mario Spain, Tomas Flores, Ana Pardo, Rosa Dominguez, Laura Pineda, Alfonso Toro, Carlos Gonzalez, Hector Diaz, Fabiola C. Ramon, and Margarita Torres. Thank you, Mayor Polito. All in favor on supporting of rent control.
Thank you. We will now move to Councilmember comments. Councilmember Barcena?
You're muted.
Thank you. Thank you to all the residents that came on board to the meeting. I know it's a little bit difficult right now to tune in at the right time because the meeting can go on for longer. I know that it's difficult to stay motivated because sometimes the comments are not being read. It is true we have a copy of your comments, but it is not true that these comments are only for the council. These comments are for anyone out there, for the whole community. Los comentarios que mandan ustedes no son nada más para los concejales, son para la comunidad, son para sus vecinos, son para sus vecinas, son para sus amigos. Y si nosotros estamos tratando un tema tan dificultoso y delicado como el control de renta, es muy importante que nosotros leamos esos comentarios y voy a seguir peleando para que eso se haga aquí. Así que sigan mandando, no se decepcionen y sigan luchando para hacer lo que es debido hacer en esta ciudad de Bell Gardens, porque se necesita que ustedes sigan marchando adelante. Si se dan por vencido ahorita, todo se puede se puede gastar, va a ser en vano. Así que sigan echando ganas y nosotros vamos a hacer nuestro trabajo acá para asegurarnos de que seamos transparentes, que estemos compartiendo sus comentarios con la comunidad, como lo dice la ley. Y gracias otra vez por estar aquí. Thank you to staff for doing your job. I know that you guys are doing the best that you can. And thank you to the council too for supporting wonderful programs in the community as we approved today.
Councilwoman Cortez.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to give direction, City Manager. Can we go ahead and move forward with the legal aid clinic? I know our wonderful legal team has assisted us in the past with bringing either a nonprofit or a university, a law university that would provide legal services to our community. I want it to be maybe tenant rent specific in that area. Separately from that, if we can also continue with our immigration workshops. Right now, naturalization would be one, or even any immigration lawyers. I know certain dates for filing paperwork are coming up for residents who have been waiting for the papers for many, many years. So I think that would be very helpful. And lastly, is there a way that we can repair this screen? I know we haven't had it for many years, but in the center medium on Florence by El Picante, there's like a board there that we can maybe use to announce certain events. If we can try to repair that or add a new one. The community has expressed that we need a different way to try to advertise our events besides social media. So I think that would be helpful. And also, can we maybe look into bringing back our printed book of programming for the community? And that is it. Oh, I want to wish our Councilwoman Flores an early birthday. She will be celebrating her birthday this week. So happy birthday, Councilwoman Flores. Thank you. Have a great night.
Councilwoman Flores.
Yes, I have a couple of items before I move forward. No sé si la gente que llamó para la junta todavía está en línea, pero les quiero solamente avisar o para que ustedes comprendan que cuando ustedes dan sus comentarios, si quieren una respuesta para atrás, no es una conversación así two-way, like donde tú puedes preguntarme algo and I can respond to you. Así no trabajan las cosas. So I'm going to try to answer some of your questions. La primera cuestión venía de Verónica Cisneros y preguntó que what are we doing for homelessness? We are working on certain items. We have one that we have of hopefully a future contract with the county. I know Mayor Pro Tem Chavez has been talking to the county about that as well. And then we do have our police department who members actually wants help. We do have a partnership with the Bell Shelter in the city of Bell, the Salvation there, and they have beds allocated for the city of Bell Gardens. So whenever we have a homeless situation in our community and people actually want help, we send them over and they can stay there. They give them resources. We also have the Family Service Center and they help more long-term. So they can find housing, help you apply for food assistance, so much help that we have here in the city. And we're actively helping our community. There was recently a woman off Eastern who needed assistance and our police department took her over to the Bells. She accepted the help. They took her over to the center and then a few hours later she was back and then they took her back and then she was back. So they accept the help, but there's only so much we can do. Everybody has free will. We can't force them to stay somewhere, but we're actively working on it. And if you have a particular case that you would like for us to pay attention to, I invite you to please contact the city and we will go ahead and provide you with resources or send whatever type of help that needs to be sent over to you. And then a la señora Cassandra Veloz que mencionó over mental health awareness. Thank you so much. Mental health is something that we all have to, think of. We all suffer from some sort of issue and we all need a break sometimes. I definitely believe that as council members, we've definitely seen what the COVID burnout was and it was very difficult. So I understand firsthand what it is to take care of our mental health and do whatever we can as a city to provide assistance. And we also have a program at our Family Service Center that helps out with anyone who's looking for assistance in that area. And then creo que fue Silvia que mencionó algo de los deportes, de que es un poco difícil pagar la renta y, ¿cómo se dice? Enroll your kids in sports. Liz, can you please explain what we have for our families that would need assistance to pay for sports?
Yes, good evening, Councilman Flores. We, in the RCS department, we actually have earmarked funding from our general fund budget for what's called the Bell Gardens Activity Scholarship Program. And so essentially, if a family needs assistance paying for a program or an activity that the Recreation Department is putting on, they can come to us and we will, on a case-by-case basis, provide some subsidy for them to help cover the cost of the program.
Thank you so much, Liz. So, como lo que explico es de que tenemos fondos que son apartados solamente para los deportes a los niños de nuestra ciudad. So, no se den por vencidos, o más pregunten y nuestros departamentos de recreación lo pueden guiar al lugar correcto para que gane el dinero y los recursos para que tengan sus hijos en los deportes en la ciudad. Y luego alguien mencionó de que quieren que you need financial assistance. City Attorney, can you please, or City Manager, give a brief explanation on why we can't just hand out checks to our residents?
Sure, Councilmember Flores. I mean, just generally, obviously, there's always a concern of a gift of public funds if you're just giving something out. But generally speaking, for payments to be sent like that, because there have been programs, grant-funded programs, there would need to be some kind of program that's either budgeted, has some kind of a revenue source, or has some kind of a grant associated that would allow for payments to be made to individuals. Normally, there's an application process. There are requirements to be met, but obviously there has to be money available for that purpose. Beyond that, you know, it's difficult to just issue direct payments. The approach that has been taken, I guess, specifically to rent issues is, you know, there's currently an urgency ordinance in place. We have conducted rent control or rental assistance program. We're the only city in the state that was processing rental assistance payments. We have a community family services center and our community development group that regularly provide tenants with help regarding eviction issues, increase issues, things like that. Providing legal reference services for residents as well if they need legal representation or help when it comes to tenant-landlord relationships. Also, code enforcement gets involved too. And I guess lastly, just obviously there's, I mentioned there's a rent increase ordinance that does not allow for that currently in place while the city is actively using a lot of resources to create a rent control ordinance through the rent control ad hoc committee that will meet later this week. So then ordinance can come back to the city council. So long-winded version of that. Currently, there isn't a program to just pay people that need to be paid. But there are programs in place for people that are experiencing hardships to maybe not completely solve the problem, but to at least alleviate and help give a platform to fix the problem from a long-term basis.
Thank you. So, no podemos regalar dinero, es ilegal porque el dinero de la ciudad le pertenece a los taxpayers. So, lo que nosotros podemos hacer es crear programas, eventos y espacios para que la juventud de nuestra comunidad se sienta comfortable y aceptada y que tengan otras cosas que hacer para que no estén en la calle. Pero tratamos de hacer y ser tan as innovative as we possibly can. Pero no podemos nomás dar cheques así como, ya sé que Gavin Newsom dio like stimulus checks. La ciudad no puede hacer stimulus checks. I know it sounds like a great idea, but as much as I would love to do that, we cannot. That's not the way that it works here. And then also on that note, we do have the Cal Home program. It's a Cal Home grant program. What it is son $100,000 que ustedes pueden adquirir para la purchase de un nuevo casa. Sorry, my Spanish is on full like throttle today. Si necesitas comprar una casa, es su primera vez, we have $100,000 que el Cal Home Grant les puede dar a ustedes. Y es dinero que es completamente gratis para ustedes. So, ahorita me encantaría que toda la gente que necesita ayuda aplique para este programa porque les expliqué a unas personas que vino otra gente de otra ciudad y aplicó y agarró el dinero y estuvimos, aunque le dimos prioridad a los estudiantes de Bell Gardens, ellos no lo agarraron porque nadie estaba aplicando. So, para mí es frustrante que nosotros estemos votando para dar recursos para ustedes y nadie aplica. So, por favor, apliquen al Cal Home Program y agarren ese dinero que es gratis, $100,000 para una casa. Nadie está haciendo eso y apenas empezaron otra ciudad haciéndolo eso, pero nosotros fuimos uno de los primeros. So, por favor, apliquen y tomen ventaja de esos recursos. Y yo también quiero decirles algo para la gente que está aquí. Yo vengo de una familia súper grande. Somos 7 hijos, imagínense, y 2 padres. Toda mi vida, mis padres han trabajado. Tengo una familia súper trabajadora. Mi papá compró una casa cuando estaba like 1 or 2 years old en South Central. Cuando la perdieron, la casa, vivimos en Southgate, vivimos en Huntington Park y finalmente llegamos aquí a Bell Gardens. Yo sé primeramente lo que es tener tantos hijos y rentar y lo que es vivir, porque mi niñez fue toda esta. Después de que llegué a Bell Gardens, rentamos por toda la ciudad. Rentamos en la Granger, luego en la Purdy y luego en la Scout. Y hasta que finalmente mis padres pudieron comprar una casa después de tantos años aquí en la ciudad. Entonces, yo sé primeramente lo que es tener que rentar y los struggles que vienen con eso, porque yo lo viví en mi vida. So, no necesito que para mí leer las mismas emails que copy and paste todos para yo entenderlos, because I lived it. I know what it is. Y no sé cuántas veces lo he dicho que yo estoy a favor del control de renta y no me gusta que gente aquí quiera decir como que porque no leo los emails, no estoy a favor. Claro que estoy a favor. Si algo más, yo soy la única mamá en este concilio. Soy la única que tiene hijos. I know what it is to have to provide for a family. And I can't say that about anybody else. So the fact that anybody else wants to paint that picture makes me very upset. And I ask you to watch it. Watch it, because you're not going to do that. You're not going to paint the picture that I'm against something that I can possibly be the only person that can tell you what it is like. So, estoy un poco enojada, sí, frustrada, porque no se me hace justo que quieran pintar esta o ilustrar esta foto, esta historia de que no es verdad. Entonces, disculpa por ponerme un poco excited, pero es algo muy personal para mí y les quiero decir, eso es mi background, right? Que he vivido aquí y yo tengo una familia aquí y estoy raising my kids en esta ciudad y yo quiero que todos tengan una mejor calidad de vida, siendo con mejores parques, con banners en las paredes, que tengan un poco de decoración, que tengan un poco de pride en la ciudad y que también tengan un lugar seguro en que vivir. Y nosotros estamos haciéndonos cargos de esto. So, por favor, si oigan alguien, if you hear anything else other than that, then I'm telling you right now that that's not true. Okay, so please just reach out to us directly and believe that I am in favor of rent control. And I think that we all want to provide a good living situation for all of our residents, not just some of our residents. La última vez que hubo una council meeting, uno de los que son propietarios dijo, oh, my clients, y me enojé mucho porque dije, para ti son clients y para mí son mis vecinos y mis amigos y mis residentes. So, quiero que sepan que yo estoy tomando esto con mucho pasión y mucho assertiveness y que voy a hacer lo que es correcto. Y nomás quiero pedirle a mis colegas que por favor paren de tratar de pintar esta historia en donde estoy contra esto solamente porque no quiero leer algo que está copy and paste y que ya lo leí de todos modos. La mayoría de esta gente en esta lista, yo ya hablé con ustedes, hasta los conozco, tengo su número de celular. So it's no sé quién quieren, how do you say, I don't know who you want to lie to, but it's not going to be the resident. So let's just stop there and let's all be amicable and respect each other and stop trying to paint one as a bad one and trying to be the hero in the story. Nobody is a hero unless everybody has somewhere to live. And right now everybody's still struggling. So everybody needs to tone it down a bit. Okay. All righty. Oh, and tomorrow's my birthday. So thank you, Councilwoman Cortez, for giving me a shout out. I really appreciate it.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for the meeting. I know that the previous, Councilmember Flores mentioned, addressed the two comments that came in for Veronica Cisneros and Cassandra Veloz. I find it interesting that on one comment, we talked about mental health, right, and services we provide. And on the other comment, we talked about homelessness, right? I believe that there's definitely a correlation between the two, right? And I'm glad that this comment came in. We've obviously been talking about rent control. The past meetings we touched on rent freeze. But interestingly enough, today we had a comment also about homelessness. And I'm interested in knowing, obviously here in our city, we don't necessarily have a department that's solely dedicated to addressing homelessness. But I mean, if I'm homeless right now, right, I'm living out of my car, what services do I have available for me tonight? That's what I want to know. Who do I call for services tonight? Where can I get a bed tonight? That's my question.
You can call me and I can get you a hotel voucher because I have a contact with the county that we all should have, and I'll get you somewhere to sleep tonight.
And how can I get your number?
You don't have a number?
No, obviously I have your number, but let's just say like I wasn't in the role that I am today, right? You know, I'm
Well, we all have a responsibility to put that information out there and not share like some sort of fear, but more so give information out like, hey, these are the services available. And we should all know, sorry, I didn't want to throw into your comments, but just wanted to answer your question.
okay. Per se, I drafted up maybe per se this way. I'm a transient. I'm going from city to city. I'm trying to find perhaps a place to stay. I have a car. I'm living out of my car, and I somehow end up in the city of Bell Gardens, right? I know that I'm in the city of Bell Gardens because I just entered, and it has the little banners that says "Welcome to Bell Gardens." But you know, I know if there's development for a 211 number, a 411 number, or something. And let's just say I do have a cell phone, right? Because not everybody has a cell phone. But what services are out there at this moment? And if we don't know what services are out there, who's the primary sort of overhead department that's overseeing this operation, right? And now per se, with all due respect to the comment that did come in, I think homelessness is the issue. It's been the determining issue for the past decade or so, right? We're here in this county, we're known as the homeless capital of the world for a reason, right? I know that there's some restructuring being done about LASA, but per se, I'd like the city manager to elaborate a little bit more on this. But I mean, LASA, what services do they provide? It's LASA services that they provide, and I'm seeing that the resident just commented on the Zoom, but this is something that's being brought up. I mean, what can I do tonight? Right. I'm interested in hearing.
I think you can hear the city manager's response in a memo. We don't want to take away from your comment time allotment.
Very, very well then. Well, I mean, I'd like to make the request that for the next meeting, we have LASA, the Los Angeles Housing Service Authority, present to determine what sort of programs, what options are available for constituents or not constituents or just transients, right? I know that within the past couple of months, per se weeks, I'd even say sometimes within the weekly basis, we've had fires occurring in Edison. I know our PD has responded multiple times, and you know, this is something that's becoming almost common, right? What can we do to prevent this from happening, right? And again, mental health is a critical component of addressing homelessness. It's almost to the point where you can't separate the two, right? So yeah, to begin, I'd like to begin with that. And in regards to mental health, also to Cassandra Avelos, I know we provide services to the CFSC, Community Family Service Center, but I do know that we have various clinics around the city. I know we've collaborated with Spirit Family Center here. I know that they have set up shop within the Community Family Service Center a couple of times throughout the month. Just similar to how we have the Latino Equality Alliance program within the city, set up shop throughout the month. But I'm interested if we've done any collaboration with the clinic on Garfield and Gage, the community, Family Healthcare Center of Greater Los Angeles. Obviously, this is a clinic that's tied to the county directly, but potentially they could have resources, much more resources available, and perhaps data, right, that we can look at directly in terms of what services our constituents are requesting at this moment, right? With the pandemic, we've seen the rise in mental health cases, especially with the youth, right? Not being out to socialize with other kids was critical. You need to have that growing up. So I'd ask for a potential collaboration with the Family Healthcare Center of Greater Los Angeles. And then finally, I'd like to say that I did mention a little bit in this comment about homelessness and LASA. And just today, I sent an email to Nancy, who's the executive director of Gateways Cities Council of Governments, which is comprised of countless cities throughout Southeast LA, all the way from here, from Bell Gardens, starting with Commerce, all the way down to Long Beach, and the corner of the county, including Cerritos, Artesia, et cetera. And they had mentioned that there's a new spending plan that has been approved by the county's Board of Supervisors. A total of $532 million has been approved for the fiscal year 2022 to 2023, with 20 million going directly to local jurisdictions. Just to touch on exactly what these 20 millions could be used for, it could be used for strategies and funding for street-based outreach, interim housing, permanent housing, supportive services for people experiencing homelessness, as well as preventing people from becoming homeless in the first place, including by facilitating affordable housing developments, right? So I'm seeing this and I'm saying, we got $20 million allocated to local jurisdictions. How can we ensure that here in our city, we get our fair share, right? I know that within the last council meeting, we approved an MOU per se, or we approved some sort of program with the Salvation Army where we have secured beds with the Salvation Army here in the city of Bell. But I don't know how many, I think it was 4 beds per se, guaranteed, no matter what, 4 beds. Yeah, that's not enough, right? And I think that we should be doing more to address the rise of homelessness. The person who's overseeing this program is Gilberto Saldate. He's a homelessness program manager for Gateway Cities COG. And he's going to go ahead and respond back in terms of how we can go ahead about applying to get a portion of those 20 million to go to our jurisdiction. Yes, moving on. Something that I noticed that was on the July 4th, the Independence Day event, and I'm glad to see it, was the mini farmers markets. I'm glad to see that we're gonna try farmers market. It's something that I know as a council we've advocated in the past. So I'm glad to see that for the July event, we're gonna have a farmers market. On May 12th, I went out and about in the street of Quinn. I went ahead and I gathered signatures for speed bumps. And I got a lot of feedback in regards to residents reaching out, needing assistance to collect signatures, including for streets by Ford Park, on Gotham between Gilliland and Park Lane, along with Gotham on Bell Gardens Avenue and Eastern. And finally on Marlowe between Loveland and Lubeck. So I'll definitely be following up to determine if these streets are allowed to have some sort of speed bumps, if they qualify per se. And we can go ahead and schedule those days to go out and about and collect signatures. Earlier last week, I was in Sacramento. I was advocating on behalf of water policy. I met with various state senators and state assembly members, including our very own state senator, Lina Gonzalez, Senator Robert Charletta, our very own assembly member, Cristina Garcia, assembly member Santiago, Senator Bradford, Senator Limon, and assembly member Wendy Carrillo. The importance of water policy and potential restrictions that are going to come along now that we're once again in a drought. National Public Works Week was awesome last week. I went ahead and I attended a barbecue that was hosted by Athens at our Public Works yard. Had a great time.
Mayor Pro Tem, can you wrap up your comments? You've met your 6-minute allotment. Thank you.
I'll finish it up. I'd probably say maybe another 30 seconds per se, if I may. Awesome. Okay, it was great. Thank you for the invitation to be out there, and shout out to Athens for setting up that barbecue, along with shout out to Athens for setting up our annual curbside cleanup this Saturday. I was surprised. I was driving around at night and I said, who put all these bulky items outside? And then I remembered, oh yeah, hey, we're having our annual curbside cleanup. So I'm glad that we have that. Finally, if I haven't reached out to you already, I think I reached out to all my colleagues. If you can attend the WELL conference, we're having a water conference in the city of Pico Rivera. It's hosted by Water for Education Latino Leaders. Just like any other conference that we attend, ICA or contract cities. So it's June 10th and June 11th. And I look forward to seeing everyone. Don't forget Coffee with the Cop this Thursday. Look forward to attending there at our local McDonald's, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Thank you so much.
Quick question. Do you know if there's a cost for the conference, the WELL conference?
What was that?
Do you know if there's a cost for the WELL conference?
Yes, there is going to be a registration cost. I believe the registration costs $175 to attend that conference. But by all means, I know that the executive director who oversees Paul Hernandez, he's more than welcome to work with us in terms of we need to set up a payment plan or anything of that sort. So by all means, I encourage everybody to attend. We're going to have different panels and it's going to be great. Just graduated from last week, so it was a good program. Thank you so much.
Mayor Pro Tem Chavez, I did hear about the signature collection that you were conducting in some of the streets on Gotham. I did hear some concern in regards to the education that was being provided regarding the speed bumps. Maybe we can speak later about what information is being provided, but I would ask that you do educate in regards to the pros and cons of having them, especially when we're advocating for a street where you're not residing, because I think that makes a big difference. I only received 2 comments, so it's not broad, but I did. I just want to thank everybody for your reports, for your feedback. I'm very excited over all the events that we have coming up in the coming months. I know that even when we all can't make it to all the events, our residents do follow up with us, especially on social media. They'll tag us thanking for all the events that we're putting together. And again, on the eyes of the public, we get the credit, but it's really all of you that are putting these events together. I'm excited for the laser show. I think it's going to be beautiful in a bigger scale. Again, I do agree. The video looked a little party, but still, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I'll be there to see it. And if not, we'll let you know. Thank you again for all of your efforts. Thank you, Captain. You did a great job today in today's meeting. And happy birthday eve to Councilmember Flores. Your birthday's tomorrow, right? Yes. You guys don't know
Happy
this, but
birthday.
she's turning 40 tomorrow. But yes, we wish you a very happy birthday. I hope that you celebrate it with your loved ones and your family, and that it's very memorable. Thank you so much for everything you do. And with that, if there's no objection, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:22 p.m.
Thank you so much for sticking around, and hope you have a great day.